Presidential Museum and Archive and the John Ben Shepherd Public Leadership Institute. John Ben Shepherd was a really interesting guy. He's kind of probably one of the unsung heroes of Odessa, that he donated the money to basically get UTPB started. He also donated the land that Guadalupe National Park is on, and the other thing he did was get one of the main roads through town named after him. But this is a surprising little museum. It has a lot of real high quality pieces you might only expect to find in a museum like the Smithsonian or something, instead of a little museum like Odessa. There's a actual dress that belonged to Martha Washington, and there's a top hat that Abraham Lincoln used to own, and several different things like this. This is not a presidential museum as such, but it does have a lot of presidential archives. I'm going to show you one of the true treasures that this has. So you can see the little presidential archives. I'll walk up. See? Okay, so Delilah and I are walking along here, and we're coming up right now to this little house that's kind of tucked off by the side of the trail. And I always forget, you know, this is probably a significant piece of history, but you know, I don't ever think about it. I walk past the thing a couple of times a day. This is President Bush's first house. Here's a historical marker about it, and here's another historical marker about it. And if you look back here, it's a rather modest house. Right after World War II, they were really short lumber in Odessa, so a poor person's house had canvas sides and a roof. It was basically a tent. And they had these set up all just north of downtown Odessa, and as they got lumber, they built these little houses like this. And this is one of the first houses after World War II that George Bush moved into. And if you think about the fact that there's 2 U.S. presidents have walked through the rooms of this house, that's kind of the American dream, you know, a small house like this, being able to produce 2 American presidents. Okay, let's talk about shoes a little bit. And let me start and preface this by saying, you know, when you look for shoes and stuff, you can get on the internet and you can find shoe opinions, and oh my gosh, can you find some shoe opinions. And you know, I'm not an expert maybe in shoes, but I've wore shoes for a long time, 60 years now, so I do know some about shoes, and I've been backpacking for a long time, so I know kind of what I like in a backpacking shoe. So let's start there. I'm a big chunky guy, you know, I'm weighing in about 235 right now, and you add a 45-pound pack, and that puts me up to about 280. And so, you know, I got to take care of my feet. And you're pounding down these trails and stuff all day long with 280 pounds on your feet. You can destroy them. And so you got to be really careful, and you got to really take good care of your feet. Now, with that said, let me talk a little bit about my favorite normal walking shoe. This is what I wear on a day-to-day basis, and this is an old pair of them. You can see I'm wearing a pair right now. But what I'm looking at right here is this is a Trail Runner. Doesn't have a lot of ankle support, has some pretty good traction. It's got a lot of cushion up in the ball and a lot of cushion in the heel, kind of stiff, so when I roll forward and everything, it's not flexing my foot a long ways. It's got really great arch support right in here, and you can see it's got kind of a high arch. If you need a high arch, I would definitely buy shoes with a high arch in them. So, what's making the trip? This is probably the shoe I'm going to be taking on the trip with me. This is a Sportiva Light Hiker. And, you know, it's kind of a cool shoe. It's a boot. It does come up. It comes up, you know, up on the ankle quite a bit higher. Has a higher tie point where it's pulling your foot back into the back of the shoe a little harder. It is stiff. It's got some pretty good cush up front, and there's a couple of other things about this. It's got these really strong shoelaces, and it has the no tie feature, which I'll rant about that in a second. But anyway, kind of pretty neat. This shoe is a Gore-Tex shoe, and I got Gore-Tex mainly for this summer because I might get rained on. Out in West Texas, when I'm going to Guadalupe or Big Bend or someplace like that, I don't wear Gore-Tex shoes. If it's going to rain on me, I'll put a tarp over me and sit until it's through raining and then continue hiking. In our desert climate, there's so few times that it really rains that it's really not worth sticking, paying the extra $50 that it takes to get a Gore-Tex quality shoe. So, with that said, here's the non-Gore-Tex version of that same shoe, and you can see I'm walking through the foam on the back. And I'm actually start the hike with these. They're well broke in, and I might make the first 300. They're pretty close to the end of their life at this point. And when you start seeing foam coming through and everything, you really need to retire your shoes. Don't overwear a pair of shoes, because new shoes will give you blisters, and so will old shoes. If after 300 miles I carry that pair I was showing you a second ago, and then I drop these in a trash can and walk off from them, Now, this was what I was thinking at one point I might bring. This is what I do most of my backpacking in West Texas in. This is a pair of Vosk heavy-duty hiking boots, and I've used Vosk heavy-duty hiking boots since the mid-70s. Not that I'm brand loyal or nothing, but I always just like Vosk boots. They're super stiff. You can't even hardly flex these. So when you land, you're going to roll forward. They got a lot of cushion, built in. High arch supports. There's probably a piece of steel in there. They're a little heavy, and which is why you don't use them. Now, these are not Gore-Tex, and if I was taking them this summer, I'd probably upgrade to a Gore-Tex version of them. But like I say, in West Texas, I don't need Gore-Tex. Now, some things that I'm not bringing. I got this pair of shoes, and I was thinking at one point, I'm going to try them out. Salomon's a good, solid outdoor company and everything. They make a lot of ski boots, and there were some good reviews, and this is one of the problems with reading good reviews on these things and everything. And honest, if you look at the front, at the ball of the heel, toes right here, and look at the difference in padding between this, and between this right there and this, you can start feeling the pavement. I walked up toward Andrews wearing those things a few weeks ago, and my feet were absolutely killing me. And by the time I'd gone, 20 miles or so. And since I'm going to have to do that every day, I can't really afford to have a shoe that absolutely kills me. Now, another shoe, and for you Bear Grylls fans, he wears these and stuff, and this is absolutely not a practical hiking shoe. If you had a four-wheeler or a helicopter carrying around you and your crew, this kind of a shoe might be a good hiking boot. Other than that, these things are for going rock climbing. They're for walking up to the base of the cliff. You throw them in your climbing bag when you get there and put your climbing shoe on, and then take off. So these things they have, climbing toe and a impact brake system on the heel and stuff. They're very little padding. They're very stiff, and these are literally approach shoes. They're not hiking shoes. And so save your feet. These things will blister the thunder out of you if you go hiking in them, and there's absolutely no way I'd carry a load with these things. But I just wanted to show you, because I know I've hiked with a person who said, yeah, Bear Grylls wears them, I could wear them. It's bad advice. So there's a bunch of shoes out there, and I know I've had people tell me you should look at the Ossos and stuff and different shoes like that. And every boot has its purpose. If I was hiking the Continental Divide Trail, I'm probably going to get me a set of heavy-duty Vosks or something that come way on up my ankle or something like that, so that I can post around in snow and stuff like that, where they hook gaiters to them and stuff. If I'm going to be hooking crampons or something, I'm going to want a boot that will take that. If I'm going to be carrying, you know, much bigger loads and stuff, I may want a better support system, or if the trails are worse. But for this summer, I've settled on these. And anyway, that's my shoe choice.